I had to ask myself, how am I going to move on and forgive and love this person who did this? And I know you're looking at your phone weird, or your TV, or your iPad. You're like, forgive and love her?
Carrollton, Texas. In today's news, there is a 2-year-old trapped inside a house fire. The fire was started by the father's girlfriend, who set the father's bed on fire while he was sleeping. The father managed to rescue 4 of the 5 children who were inside. As it remains, there is still a toddler trapped inside the home. There are firefighters and first responders on the scene. I don't know how this is going to turn out. We will keep you posted on the latest as the story develops. Reporting for Good News 1, I'm Sherry.
All right, well, welcome to another episode of After the Fire. Today we're going to talk about some of the most important tools or weapons to use against evil spirits or just evil in general. In the last video, we talked about, the different different sources of power that we have available as we move through different levels of spirituality and what God gives us to be able to fight with, to be able to ward off witches, warlocks, Satan himself, or any of his demons that he sends out to destroy the opposition, or in this case, those of us who love and take care of those of us around us and want to see good done for the people, not only around us, but in this world. So we have to kind of tackle this in pieces, right? Because as you first get saved, right, as you first come into spirituality, whether it's in a religious environment or not, you realize that God has all power. And when we say all power, it is a power that is unmatched, a power that has never been beaten, a power that has created the opposition, and a power that it's unstoppable, completely unstoppable. So if we take that and we realize that we have this power, right? This power that is within us, because if we look at, if we just go with the Bible, right? The Bible says that God made man in his own image. So if we just look at that, right? I'm not well versed on a lot of the other biblical or religious books, but if we just look at that, we understand that if God created heaven and earth, and then created every body and every animal and plant in the earth, and then from there created the bad in the earth, then we know that we have the same power within us. So if we look at that, and I'm sure you may say, well, how do we have that? Well, if look at it, if God created the earth, right? We create our earth, our foundation, our family environment, right? That's kind of our, if you will, that's kind of my way of saying that's our foundation, right? We can create that foundation, right? We can create what happens inside the foundation. We can actually create the physical beings in the foundation, right? With, the 2 male and female coming together and creating that being, we have the ability to create. Right? Not only do we have to create, we have the ability to populate, because we can now populate our family with more and more people, right? Whether it's bringing them in from outside and adopting people in, or just manual physical creation, right? So if he has the ability to do that, so do we. And if you look at the fact that God has the ability to create the enemy, right? Then we have the ability as well to create enemies. You see where I'm going there? Like, we can create actual enemies. Now, we can't physically, like, boom, here we go, right? But I'm sure we all have some enemies. I'm sure we do. And those were either created by us or somebody else. But we do have the ability to create, right? And if we don't look at the fact that it's just enemies, we just look at the creation perspective, we have the ability to create. And if we use our ability to create intentionally, we can do a lot of great things. So just at a base level, right, we can do things like, create music. We can create artwork. We can create different types of rhythms if you're a musician. There's all types of things that we can create, and being in a creative zone, in a creative space, that's kind of what creatives do. But all of us don't use the ability to create, right? And if you say to yourself, I'm not a creator though, I'm not a musician, I'm not any of that, well, think of it like this, right? You can create your life. You can manually create your life. You can create what's in your life, what type of car you drive, the type of credit score you have, how much money you save, how much money you make. We can create that in our lives if we do it intentionally. Now, there are some people who, once they get into, just, let's say, once they get into just a basic level of spirituality, they understand that they can create, but they don't really know that it's possible, right? And a lot of the times we sit and wait on things to come from others or to come from God that we can create ourselves, right? Some prime examples of that is, let's say, a job, right? We don't have to sit and pray and ask God for a job, right? We can create that. We can get out and say, okay, I want to do this type of job and I need to learn this information and I need to go apply over here and I need to talk to this person in order to get this job, right? So if we follow the proper steps, pretty much in anything, we have access to gaining it. So we can create that. We can say, okay, I want this type of life. I want this type of lifestyle. I want this type of car. I want this type of house. I want this type of income. And we can create that and make it happen in our lives. But we've got to go out and get it, right? We've got to go out and figure out what information is necessary that's going to allow us to be able to have access to the things that we want. If we just create things and if we just empower and motivate people, you can do a lot with those too. You really can. But if you bring in more, right? We got the power of prayer, right? And prayer in the Bible and everywhere across the world. I don't care where you are, who you are, what religion you are. Everybody prays to some entity. So we have to make sure we have a solid prayer life. Not only that, but we have to make sure that we know how to pray, to be able to communicate with the creator of this world, to be able to get the information that we need or to just praise and thank God for what he has done. And so prayer can go a long way, right? There's ways to pray. For instance, you can pray for something specifically to happen in your life. You can pray for other people that they either get well or do better or get more guidance or have more focus and clarity on something that they may need. You can also pray and just thank God for what he has done for you already and not even ask for anything more. You can also just pray for the actual world, that God comes in and heals this world and make it a better place. You can also pray for your children. You can pray for, pretty much anything you want to pray for, whether it's asking God for something or praising and thanking God for something. You can always pray, and prayer is the best tool to use consistently. Like I pray all the time. I used to say I pray every chance I think about it, but now I think it has increased a little bit more. And for those of us who have received a lot from God and seen a lot of God blessings, we don't have a choice but to pray, because prayer is major. It's sometimes it's the only way to release, God, that I feel so good that you did that for me, or that you did that for my child, or that you did that for my family member. It just feels so good. And thank you, Father. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So sometimes I have to pray because I'm trying to keep up with the blessings that God are giving me. And then there's sometimes,
Every session at the gym is about pushing your limits and sculpting a stronger you. That's why it's crucial to fuel your recovery with the right protein supplement. Discover the power of isogenics. From moringa-infused smart mixes to plant-based proteins and advanced cell repair formulas, isogenics supports not just muscle recovery, but your overall vitality. Experience the change and boost your strength with every product.
and then there's sometimes, I have to pray. I'll get sick, and then I'll definitely pray and ask God to heal my body and heal every cell structure in my body and command my body to be healed and receive the healing that God is giving me. It's so powerful. Prayer is so powerful. And it's not something that can be stopped. It can't. It can't. Even if the devil hears the prayer, he can't stop it. Because what God has ordained to happen in your life is going to happen. So we've got prayer, right? We've got creativity. We've got speaking life or death, right, with our tongue. Those are some of the 3 basic things you hear in church or from most spiritual people. But there's more. There's so much more. We have the power to rebuke Satan. We have the power to stop him in his tracks. The Bible says, if you resist Satan, he will flee. Which means we have to say no. We have to say, I'm not going to do that. We have to say, no, you're not going to get me today, Satan. In the church, we would say, devil, you're a lie. Or I rebuke you, Satan. And that will stop Satan in his tracks. It will stop him from bothering you. It'll stop him from tormenting you. It will stop him from using other people to come against you. It will stop it in its tracks. But a lot of times we don't do that because we don't know that it's that powerful. And sometimes we'll deal with a certain situation for so long and then let it frustrate us and intimidate us or certain people or certain thoughts in our mind. Well, we can simply just say, no, I rebuke you, Satan. It's not going to happen like that. And God has said that he come that might have life and that more abundantly. And I know that I've got abundant life. I know my life is going to be abundant. And I have abundant life. And I already have it. And you're trying to talk to me now because you want me to stop and slow down so you can take it. And that's not going to happen. We have the power to do that. We have the power to have faith. Faith is another great tool. I mean, it is a weapon. Faith is to me, faith is the most lethal weapon we have. Because if nothing else works, you can say, Lord, I trust you. I trust that you have this situation already taken care of. I trust that it's going to go okay. And I'm going to continue to move knowing that you have my back. Oh, and it goes so far. It goes a long way. It does so much for my life. I don't even feel comfortable if I'm not acting in faith. If I'm just acting and doing things that I know that I can do and just waiting on things to come in that are just supposed to come in, life to me gets really boring. Like I'm the kid that stands out on a ledge and not on a ledge, but a limb, stands out on a limb and like, okay, Lord, you said come out here. I'm out here. Where we go from here? I'm waiting on you. And never, ever has God failed me. Never. He always meets me and says, hey, I'm right here. Hey, I'm right here. I was waiting on you. So we have the ability to do a lot of things. And by faith, we can step out and do things that we wouldn't normally be able to do. Just by faith. Just by faith. We talked about earlier getting a job. Earlier we talked about getting a job. You can go and get a job just off of faith. When I first got into IT, I was about 17, 18 years old. And I didn't graduate high school. And I had no computer knowledge, experience, or any of that. So I went to this job. Someone told me about it. I went to this job, told them who I was, what my experience was, gave them my information. And a guy called me the next day. And I'm 17, 18 years old. And this guy offers me like a job for $15 an hour. And at $15 an hour doesn't sound like much now. But in 1999, that was good money for a young teen like me. So he said basically what we would do is be unboxing computers. We would unbox the computers, the technicians would then configure the computers, and then we would go deliver them to the schools. So I took the job. I said, no problem, I'll take it, right? And I didn't have much experience. All I'm doing is taking boxes of computers off of a truck and putting them inside of a building. Doesn't take much experience for that, right? So about, I'd say 3 or 4 months in, I'm working with a gentleman, and he says, you know what, Christian? Like, I see more in you, and you really want to do this, so I'm going to show you how to do it. So one of the technicians took me off of the truck, taking boxes of computers off the truck, and he started showing me how to program the computers and showing me how to erase the hard drives and put on new operating systems and showing me how to clone hard drives. And before you know it, within a year, I was the lead technician. I did say the lead technician, not the lead guy taking boxes off of the truck, but the lead technician. And I managed teams going into small schools to replace the computers. They were doing a computer refresh. And I did that for a few years successfully and had a great time. But we're talking about a kid who just had a little faith, right? I didn't know any of it, but I had the faith that if I applied for it, God was going to work everything else out. And because I did that, I was able to move into a technician role. And from there till now, I still do computer support. I still do networking. And now I even try to teach it to other young men so that they can have a career path themselves. So faith can take you a very, very long way, but you've got to use it. You've got to embrace it, and you can't be scared. Even if you are scared, so what? Go out and be scared and say, you know what, Lord, I'm scared, but I know it's for you. I'm scared, but I know that you've got my back. I'm scared, but I know that you have already gone before me and fought all of my battles and made my path straight. And I trust you, and I love you, and I thank you for doing it. And just go, no matter what it is, just go. Because you can learn anything as you go. You don't have to learn it before. You don't have to learn it after. You can learn it as you go. So have faith in anything, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's buying a car, buying a house, getting a job, getting that mate that you want, just doing things that you've never done before, starting a business, just go. And God will bless it. But you gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. So we're going through these, we're going through all of the tools and the weapons that God gives us to fight with, right? We started out talking about creating and speaking life or death through our mouth because life or death is in the tongue. Then we talked about prayer, right? And how praying can get you through any situation. And then we talked about faith and how having faith to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do allows you to do just that, things that you wouldn't normally be able to do. And God will bless it because he knows that you're depending on him. It's kind of like your son or daughter, you telling them, if you need anything, call me. And they do. They get out, they make a mistake, and they call. And they say, you know what? I know my mom's going to be mad. I know my dad's not going to like it. But I'm going to call. And I'm going to trust the fact that they're going to come out and help me. As soon as they call, they say, you know what? I'm on the way. Or let's flip it and make it positive, right? Because we want to stay on the positive note. Let's say you have a son or a daughter who started a business and didn't really understand that the business was going to take a little bit more than they needed to be able to start or get the products they need or whatever the case may be. It could be financial where they need some money and they make that call and they say, hey, Mom, You said if I need anything, I should call you. And I need some help. And don't you know it, like a good mom or a good dad, we jump out of the bed and say, you know what do you need? If you need me to come up here and work a few hours to help you move this thing along, I'll come. If you need a few dollars, I'll help you with that. If you need me to just come up and sit and talk with you about and bounce ideas off of me and what you need to do next and how you need to do it, I'll help with that. And because your child had faith in you, it almost puts more responsibility on you to respond. And it's the same with God. Because we have faith in him, that puts more responsibility on God to come through. Because if he doesn't come through, what will we say? Faith doesn't work. And if we say it doesn't work, no one would use it. But I'm here to tell you it works. And I haven't seen it not work. So have faith. Have faith in everything you do. Everything you do. We talked about having the power to rebuke Satan. We can rebuke Satan. We can rebuke the devourer in any situation, whether it's coming through a mate. If God is using your mate and your mate is coming at you with a lot of things that you know that are either not true or not them, you can rebuke that. And you can tell, no, Satan, you're not going to use my wife. Actually, let's sit down and pray. Let's sit down and pray. Let's sit down and invite God in to this situation, and then let's see how it changes. We have the power to do so much and fight. We have the power to fight, but we have to realize we have to fight. This isn't this isn't spirituality for the young at heart. This isn't for the people who want to curl up in a corner and not do anything. This isn't for the people who are lazy and just want things to come to them. No. No. When we serve God, we have to fight. We got an enemy we have to fight every day, and we have to embrace the fight, and we have to know that we have to fight, and we've got to put our fist up ready to fight. And we're fighting with all of the weapons that God gave us. Another great weapon we have is love. Oh man, I love love. I love to love. I love to be loved. I love to manufacture love. Because when you love someone, you heal them in a way no one else can heal them. You allow them to grow in a way they would not be able to grow. When you love someone, you send them feelings of joy, of peace, of serenity that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get. And of course, when you love someone,
Every session at the gym is about pushing your limits and sculpting a stronger you. That's why it's crucial to fuel your recovery with the right protein supplement. Discover the power of isogenics. From moringa-infused smart mixes to plant-based proteins and advanced cell repair formulas, isogenics supports not just muscle recovery, but your overall vitality. Experience the change and boost your strength with every product.
right back to you. And it feels the gratifying feeling that you get from loving someone is absolutely amazing. If you are missing something in your life, you need to open up your heart to love. To just anything. Love a dog. Love your baby a little bit more. Love your spouse a little bit more. Love your parents and your family a little bit more. Just providing more love actually helps you. It actually heals you. And it blocks every demon and every trick that Satan has to come against you and your relationships. And I've recently had people ask me, okay, well, if love is so powerful, how do I discipline someone in love? And they may not always say discipline. They may say something like, if someone's coming at me and they're upset at me and they're ready to fight me, how do I respond in love? And my response is easy. You talk. You ask questions. You figure out what the actual problem is, and then you find a solution and you start to address the solution. You start to make changes that will get you to the solution in the fastest way possible. And if somebody's in front of you ready to fight, you better hurry up. You better be quick about it. But we have to be realistic, right? We have to understand that nothing just happens, right? Normally it's a buildup of things that happen and then somebody snaps. It's rare that somebody snaps out of the gate. And if it does happen, there's even ways to handle that. I had an issue once where I had a guy who was upset at me, and we were in high school. And he said that so whoever did such and such, he was gonna get him, right? And I knew I was the person that did it. So I think to myself, wait, and I said it to him, wait, there's another way we can handle this, man. We don't have to be violent about it. And he was like, no, whoever it is, they're gonna get it. And I was like, look, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did it. I didn't know it was yours. It was a mistake, okay? And I apologize. But we definitely don't have to go in the route that you're talking about. And he was like, man, I appreciate you just letting me know. And we squashed it, as we call it. We did nothing more ever happen. We had a conversation. I returned back what was his, and it was a done deal, right? I've had situations where people have really come at me, right? Even with the house fire itself. I had to ask myself, how am I going to move on and forgive and love this person who did this? And I know you're looking at your phone weird, or your TV, or your iPad. You're like, forgive and love her? Yeah, I had to. Because if I didn't, it was going to affect me. And I know you guys know that if you're frustrated with somebody or you're upset at someone, you have to maintain that frustration. You have to maintain that anger, right? Like, even if you see somebody out and you're having a good time with somebody else, as soon as you see that person, you might not even be mad, but now you got to act mad. You might not have even thought about it, but now you got to think about it. And we have to hold up that persona of, I'm still frustrated at you, I'm still mad at you, I still don't appreciate what you did. But what we don't realize is when we're not around that person, we're not thinking about it. When we're having a good time and out with our friends or family, we're not thinking about it. So how frustrated are you really? So you have to maintain that frustration. You have to, I've looked at people and seen them in the mall and be like, hey, and they're like, oh, no, man, I don't like him. And we have to stop ourselves, and we got to go back to no, give me my frustration back. I don't like you. Instead of saying, you know what? We're human. We're human. We all make mistakes. It happens. I love you regardless, but I would like for that to not happen again. I wouldn't mind if that never happened again. And people understand. We're all human, everybody. We're all human. We all make mistakes. And we have to not only understand each other, but we've got to forgive. I had to tell myself, I forgive her. I forgive her for killing my son. And it was hard. It was hard to come to that place. It was hard. But I didn't just do it for her. I did it for me because I wanted to grow. I wanted to continue to move on and do successful things. and holding a grudge like that and holding in anger like that would stop me from being able to do what I needed to do. I don't want to hold it against anyone. I just want to live, enjoy my life, take care of my family. And I know to do that, they need me at peace. They need me to be healthy. They need me to be whole. So I had to forgive. And forgiveness is another tool that we have in our tool belt. And it's another weapon that we have to fight with. To tell Satan, no, I'm not going to hate them. I'm going to love them. Because you know what? It wasn't them anyway. It was you. It was you trying to use them to get to me. So I'm going to love them. But I rebuke you. We have more power than we even know what to do with. We have what's called a transfer of energy. And I'm sure some people have seen it probably misused. Some people have seen it used properly. If you look back at a very popular movie, The Green Mile, you'll see some transference of energy happen there. You'll see it in the church where people are laying hands on people and healing them. You can see it in a normal day-to-day hug, or depending on the state of the world right now, how we used to hug. You know, you ever hug someone and then they pass that energy to you and you just don't even want to let them go. Just it feels so good. And for some people, it's just walking into a room and they just fill the room with just good energy. We have the ability to do these things. We have the ability to transfer energy in a way that makes it impactful to the people around us, and they don't even know that it happened. But we've got to harness good energy. We got to have those good thoughts. We got to make sure we stay prayed up. We got to make sure that we're feeding our soul and our spirit constantly with, if not the word of God, with the power of God, or with more knowledge about God and just what He is, who He is, and who we are. And you can intentionally bring in good energy into your body so that when you go out and you go and do things, you can pass that good energy. And I know you've seen people who do the opposite. They pass off the bad energy. And yes, while you can pass good energy, you can pass bad energy. And we've all seen it. We've all seen it. We've all seen it. And I don't want to focus too much on bad, but we know what it feels like to be around people with bad energy and how it just disturbs the whole environment. So use your energy to make a change, to make a difference. Sometimes I'll grab people's hand and say, Lord, just bless them. And then move my hand or tap them on the shoulder and, what are you doing? Nothing. You know, I've done things like prayed over my children while they're asleep. Just touch them. Lord, just heal their bodies and bless them as they sleep and let them wake up renewed and fresh. Just transferring some good energy. I do it where I know people are maybe not having a good day. So I'll go into my little stash of jokes. I'm not a comedian, but I like a few laughs every now and then. So I go into my little bag of tricks, and I would my whole goal is to make them laugh. I'm gonna hit it. I'm gonna make you laugh. If I don't get the first joke, I'm gonna get the second joke. Oh, the second joke was lame, I'm gonna get the third joke. Third joke was dull, I'm gonna get the fourth joke. Something's gonna make you laugh, and before you leave my presence, you're gonna be happy. Or I've had people just do simple things like just tell me all of their problems. And I tell them all of the solutions. And they'll stop and say, you know what? I didn't even think about it like that, Christian. So we have the ability to change people's energy, to transfer energy intentionally, or we can just kind of wait for it to happen. But in this day and time, my friends, you want to move intentionally, because we don't have time to wait on time. We've got to move intentionally. We've got to see things that need to happen and know what to do and when to do it and how to do it. Which leads me into our other very strong power and weapon, which is discernment. Yes, discernment. Discernment is the ability to have insight on what's going on and no one has told you a thing. We can know. God will give us the information. If we position ourselves right spiritually, God will give us discernment, and no matter who walks up to your face and no matter what lie they tell you, you'll be able to see right through it. And the good thing about discernment is no one even knows you have it. So you have the ability to switch it up, right? To make this a loving, learning experience. Or not reply at all because you know that it's not true. And discernment can take you a long way. Sometimes I can be headed somewhere, and I'll get a feeling. Sometimes I'll get a voice of it's not a good time to do this. And sometimes, when you're young in it and you just realizing what's going on, you're like, well, it may not be that bad. You start to rationalize with it. It may not be that bad. I could just push through it. So then God gives us signs, right? Like your tire's flat. Your car's out low on gas. Can't find your keys. Another emergency comes up, right? And sometimes that'll deter us. And then sometimes we'll feel, no, I can do that and do that and do this, and then I can get on over there. And then you do that and you do that, and you get over there and you realize when you get there that they're running behind, or they're not sure if everything is going to go off the way that they wanted it to go, or they're not even ready. Or you get the good old cancellation. And then we sit back and we say to ourselves, you know what? We sit back and say, you know what? Something told me this morning. And I feel like God's other name is something told me. Because we have those moments more often than we understand what it really is. And God speaks. Sometimes you feel it in your stomach, like my stomach just doesn't feel right about this situation. I got a knot in my belly. Some people say they get a bad taste in their mouth. Some people say that they'll hear audible. Nope, don't go. Don't do it. Don't be with her. Not good for you. But whatever the case, we get it. And we have to be intentional in our movements. And we have to be able to listen to God and understand if we should go, if we shouldn't go, and if we do go, what do we need to bring with us? And discernment helps a lot. You will avoid a lot of pitfalls just from having discernment. That's a major one. I cannot express how bad we need discernment. And then, of course, speaking in tongues. We talked about that in the last video. And speaking in tongues is a way of praying where it is protected from anyone else being able to understand, because it's a language between you and God. So no one else can interrupt the plans, right? Sometimes people may hear you praying, and if you're in a an open setting, you may be praying about something that needs to happen in your life, and they hear you praying about it, and then they will come to you and say, you know what? You don't even have to do that. You could do this, and you could make way more or do way more. Or you could do, something else. Come join my team and I'll show you how you need to do it. Well, it's not what I was praying for. So if you're praying about something and something else comes to you that's not what you're praying for, it's not what you're praying for. So if we're going to pray and have faith, we've got to wait for God to show up with what I'm praying for. Normally, when it happens to me, if I pray for something, I'll get a diversion first. I'll get someone else trying to sell me something else or trying to push me in a different direction. Well, I've had some people just try to tell me, hey, man, you don't need to be doing anything else because you already do too much. It's not what I was praying for. So what I do is I will instantly put the kibosh on that. I'll tell them no. In the most loving way possible. I'll say no. And then once I say no, then what I was praying for comes. Yeah, it's very interesting. How it's almost like Satan, when he hears a prayer, he sends an attacker to stop him. And we've got to be able to say no. You could be praying for that special mate, and then you see that perfect mate in your eyesight, and you think, oh man, this is the makeup for what God is not doing. And then you start talking to him and you're like, no, it's not. But they look the part, they act the part, they drive the right car, they got the right hairstyle, they live in the right place. But spirit doesn't match up. Their moral values doesn't match up. Their ethics doesn't match up. It's like, no, that's not it either. So we have to be careful because a lot of times we get duped with the clone. We get duped with what we think isn't actually what we want. But it's just a wolf in sheep's clothing. So we've got to be very careful in our movements and what we do. We have to be intentional, people. We have to be. There's no longer we can just flow through life and let things happen and say, well, if that's the way it happened, then that's the way God wanted it. No, I'm here to tell you, no. You can change what happens in your life, in every aspect of your life. You don't have to live with the status quo. You don't have to live as an average human being. You do not have to just suffer and wait on things to happen. No. There are times, but it's not every day. You can change it. You can change your mind right now on anything you feel. Think about it. You can change it. So do that. Make the change. Be intentional. Love. Give life. Create. Have faith. Pray. Should I say pray again? Get discernment. If you don't have discernment, ask God for it. Get discernment. You need it. Love. Love without unconditionally. It makes a difference. And you will change your life and create a life of peace. And you'll create a family and friends of peace. And you can have heaven right here on earth. And we don't have to wait to die and go out of here so then we can feel great or then we can be at peace. No, you can have it right now if you know what to do and if you do it. Remember, in this life, you're not living it